What is up, guys? So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down DraftKings Pick 6. So basically, DraftKings, they saw all these fantasy sites like Underdog, PrizePicks having success, so they ended up launching Pick 6. So Pick 6 is a DFS site. It's available in most states. So DraftKings Sportsbook, I think, is legal in like 20 states. Pick 6 is available in a lot more states, which is kind of the benefit of these DFS apps compared to traditional sportsbooks. But anyways, the point of this video is I'm going to be running through everything you need to know about Pick 6 to make money. It's more complicated, unfortunately. It's pretty exploitable, and they have a lot of good promos on Pick 6, but it's definitely a little bit more complicated than PrizePicks and Underdog Fantasy. So let's get into it. So if you already use DraftKings Sportsbook, they make it pretty easy to gamble. Pick 6 is literally just a different tab on the website, so you can go between them easily. However, if you're trying to bet on your phone, you do need a separate mobile app. It's a different mobile app for Pick 6. However, the first thing I wanted to mention is if you're, unsure on if you want to use Pick 6, watch this video, give it a try. They have a $50 sign-up bonus, and you still can get access to this even if you've already used DraftKings Sportsbook. So the way it works is you place your first Pick 6 entry for $5. Doesn't matter, 2 picks, 6 picks, whatever. You play your first entry for $5. They give you $50 for free, which is obviously, pretty good. It's a free $50. And on Pick 6, the way it works is there's no odds, right? If you think about DraftKings Sportsbook, there's a ton of numbers, odds, plus 120, minus 120. On Pick 6, it's just squares, and you are either selecting a player to go over or under. It's simple. It's very similar to PrizePicks or Underdog Fantasy if you've used either of those sites. You're just selecting a player to go over or under. And on Pick 6, you need at least 2 picks in your entry. So on DraftKings, the regular sportsbook, you can place straight bets, right? If I just want to bet on bridges, over, and points, I can just place that bet as a straight bet. On Pick 6, you need anywhere between 2 and 6 picks. So you can run 2 pick entries, 3 pick entries, 4 pick entries, whatever. There's just no straight bets. Another thing about Pick 6 is it's player props only. So if you want to bet on, the Thunder to win game 2, you can't do that on Pick 6, but you can do that, obviously on DraftKings Sportsbook. So the main reason I'd recommend signing up for Pick 6 is a few different reasons. One, it's legal in way more states, so more people have access to it. Number 2, there's a lot of profitable, exploitable betting opportunities, which I'll kind of get into. I already use PrizePicks, Underdog, Dabble, Better Picks, but all of these DFS platforms, now looping in, DraftKings Pick 6, I use 5 DFS platforms basically every single day, is we never know, because all these books set their own lines, we never know which platform is going to have the best value on a given day. Sometimes there's really good value on PrizePicks, other days it's Underdog Fantasy, and some days it's going to be Pick 6. The third reason that I started to use Pick 6 myself is apparently, and I saw it the first day I signed up, they run so many promos, right? Like if you think about PrizePicks, every Tuesday, PrizePicks has Taco Tuesday, they run a bunch of discounts. DraftKings, there are countless promos, get $5 if you do this. If you place an NBA entry for $1, get $50 if you do this. There's all these different discounts. So again, I always say the easiest money you're ever going to make sports betting is the low-hanging fruit. It's going to be taking advantage of these promos, of these discounts, and Pick 6 has a ton of them, which is a big perk. So DraftKings Pick 6 is definitely more complicated, a little more annoying to use, to be honest, but you should still use it because it's pretty profitable. Pick 6 is more complicated than PrizePicks, Underdog Fantasy, but I'll try to explain it to the best of my ability. So the way that Pick 6 works is they have guaranteed minimum payouts. So for example, for the NBA, Again, you have to have between 2 and 6 picks in your slip. If I build a 2-pick entry on the NBA, they're going to tell me the minimum payout that they're guaranteeing is 3x, which is the same as PrizePicks, right? PrizePicks gives you a 3x payout for any 2-pick entry, and it's the same thing on DraftKings. You take a player to go over or under, you're going to be getting a 3x minimum payout guaranteed. Now, what I do want to mention is it's minimum payout. Sometimes you'll get an even better payout, but you don't know that in advance. So everything I'm going to be talking about is just super conservative, assuming you always get the minimum payout, which won't be the case. Usually you're actually going to get a better payout, but whatever. For the point of this video, because I don't know why DraftKings does this with minimum payouts, I'm just going to assume you're always getting the minimum payout and break down the math, the strategy, everything like that. But it's just worth remembering you could get a better payout, which is obviously nice. So if you could run a 2-pick entry on either PrizePicks or DraftKings, if they had the same line, you'd actually rather play it on DraftKings Pick 6 because, again, worst case, you're going to get a 3x payout, which is the same as PrizePicks, but there's a chance you're actually going to get a better payout. But anyways, the first thing I wanted to mention is the way I, make money on Pick 6. It's pretty similar to PrizePicks strategy, underdog strategy, is you want to compare the lines on Pick 6 to sportsbooks, right? So if I take Julius Randle to go over or under, I'm going to have the same guaranteed minimum payout. So what I want to do is look at sportsbooks, and you'll see every sportsbook, every data point in the market, FanDuel, Pinnacle is known to be a pretty sharp book. All these books have Julius Randle's under heavily favored. These are multi-billion dollar, corporations. They're experts in setting lines. They have teams of data scientists. They're taking betting volume, and they're all telling you, every single book is saying, hey, Julius Randle's a lot more likely to go under as opposed to over. So that's what I included in my slip. And as I said earlier, there's benefits to using multiple DFS apps. So I got Randle under 7.5 on DraftKings Pick 6. If you look at PrizePicks, they had his line lower at 7. So I'm getting value relative to other books. I wouldn't want to play this on PrizePicks, right? Because I'm getting a worse line. Similarly, I was able to get Edwards over 35.5 PRAs, points plus rebounds plus assists in my Pick 6 slip. If you look at PrizePicks, they had Edwards a 1.5 higher at 37. So like if Ant has 36 PRAs, I'm going to win my play on Pick 6. Whereas on on PrizePicks, you would lose if Ant has 36. Now, this is where Pick 6 starts to get complicated. Okay, so payouts are minimum payouts. You could always get more, but the minimum payouts are guaranteed. But this is where Pick 6 starts to get a little bit annoying, to be honest, is you can only pair together picks in the same league. So on PrizePicks, I can have NBA, WNBA, soccer, League of Legends. I can have all these different plays in the same slip. Whereas on DraftKings Pick 6, you can only make a slip if every play is in the same league. So you can't run NBA, MLB slips, all NBA, all MLB, or all WNBA. That's pretty annoying. The second thing that's annoying is depending on the type of slip that you do, WNBA, MLB, or NBA, you're going to get different payouts, different guaranteed minimum payouts. So I said earlier, on PrizePicks, they guarantee a minimum payout of 3x for NBA slips. So you're always going to be on 2-pick entries getting at least as good of a price as PrizePicks. PrizePicks gives you a 3x payout for 2-mans. On DraftKings, you're guaranteed to get at least 3x. However, for WNBA, the minimum guarantee is 2.5x. For MLB, it's 2.7x. So long story short, that makes Pick 6 really confusing because depending on the league you go with, you are going to get a different minimum payout. So in this video, when I'm breaking down the math, I have to specify the league, right? And what I'm going to focus on is NBA initially. We're in the NBA conference finals. We're getting close to the NBA finals. I assume most people don't bet on the WNBA. But if you have questions, obviously I can make a video on DraftKings Pick 6 strategy for each individual league. But what I decided to do is just kind of start out by going through the NBA and breaking down the math with regards to the NBA. So on DraftKings Pick 6, 6-pick entries are mathematically optimal. Again, you can run 2-pick, 3-pick, 4-pick, 5-pick, or 6-pick entries. So I went through the math. Again, this is for the NBA specifically, and 6-pick entries are optimal. That's the best type of slip you can go with. However, 2-pick entries, they're not horrible. So especially if there's a promo or if there's only 2 really good picks on DraftKings Pick 6, sometimes I'll run 2-pick entries in the WNBA, especially again when there's promos, because these promos are super profitable. So even if you can't find 5+ EV profitable bets to pair with the promo play, you obviously still want to get the promo locked in. So I'll kind of break down the math and show you why 6-pick entries are optimal. So here you can see DraftKings Pick 6. I ran a bunch of 2-pick entries. These promos have a max bet size of $10, and these promos are super profitable. But then, with no promo, the full slip, you really want to be going with 6-pick entries, which I'm kind of going to break down and explain to you. But let me show you how this works, right? Is if I go to MLB, it's going to say, your picks must be made within the same sport and pick group. So if I want to run a 2-pick entry, you need players from at least 2 different teams. So I have Brunson and Halliburton. They tell me I'm getting 3x or more. If I take this over, this under, if I replace this with a different pick, you need picks from at least 2 teams. So if I switch this out with like McBride, 3x or more, I'm getting at least a 3x payout on whatever entry I lock in, which again is better than PrizePicks, because you could get a better payout. PrizePicks gives us a 3x payout. Maybe that's a little small. I can zoom in. Gives you a 3x payout, and DraftKings Pick 6 is giving you a 3x payout minimum. So what does that mean? So here, as I'm sure a lot of you guys are excited for, I have the math pulled up. So basically a 3x payout, right? I'm getting at least a 3x payout. That means plus 200 odds. Payout includes your stake. So for example, if I bet $100 on this, I'm betting 100 to win 300 total, 200 in profit. So it's plus 200 odds. So essentially, if you go through the math, what that means is DraftKings is giving you minus 137 juice on any pick on the board. So OddsJam is actually a little wrong here with this play on Julius Randle. It's actually minus 137. But basically, on DraftKings Pick 6, you take a player to go over or under. Again, these numbers kind of vary. It's hard to get them exact because DraftKings has different minimum payouts for different leagues, different sports. But basically, if I take Julius Randle to go over or under, I'm still getting the same minimum payout. So I'm essentially getting the same odds, right? Which for a 2-pick entry, they're charging minus 137 juice, a 74-cent spread, which you can see is pretty wide, right? Compared to a sports book. Most sports books, like FanDuel here, has a 40-cent spread, whereas DraftKings is 74. But basically, so if you're playing 2-mans, you can think about it. You're getting minus 137 juice on any pick you lock in. What that means is when you're playing 2-pick entries on DraftKings Pick 6, 2-pick entries on DraftKings Pick 6, you have to win at least 57.7% of your picks to break even. So this is your break-even win rate. So if you can win your picks, let's say 60% of the time, you're going to be profitable. So here I have 0.6. So if you can win your picks 60% of the time, you're going to have an ROI long-term on DraftKings Pick 6 of 8%, and that's assuming you get the minimum payout. Now, I'm not saying that's easy to do, right? DraftKings is setting these lines. They're trying to set these lines, like this line on Miles McBride. They're trying to set these lines to be roughly 50-50. A player is 50% to go over, 50% to go under. So it's not like, easy if you don't have an edge right? Like if you give pick six to your grandma and she's blindly selecting over, under, she's gonna long-term win 50% of her over-unders, right? She's randomly picking. She's gonna win 50%, lose 50%, like flipping a coin. So if you're winning 50% of your picks on DraftKings Pick 6 with two-man entries, you're going to get killed. Your ROI is going to be negative 25%, which is obviously horrible. So you need a real edge, right? You need to win at least 57.7% of your picks to be profitable. The higher the win percentage, the better. You just want to find picks that are very likely to hit. And again, in this example, I took Julius Randle under 7.5 rebounds in one of my slips, which looks amazing because you can see here, sharp books like Pinnacle, all these sports books are data points. They all have the under heavily favored. So that's kind of, how DraftKings Pick 2 works. And what I wanted to say is you can think about these promos. Well, actually, let's go back here. So DraftKings is currently discounting Pick 6. They're discounting Towns to 9.5 rebounds. So what I can do is if I go to FanDuel and I go to the next game and I go to player rebounds, you can see Karl Anthony Towns is roughly a minus 300 favorite, minus 295. He's a big favorite to go over, right? This is a discount. So a 3-to-1 favorite, minus 300. Towns is a 3-to-1 favorite to go over. So this discount, essentially, over 9.5 rebounds is the same as 10 plus rebounds. This discount right here on Towns should be winning about 75% of the time. So basically, whatever you pair it with, if you're winning your picks 75% of the time, your ROI on pick 2, playing 2 pick entries on DraftKings Pick 6, is going to be 69%, insanely good. So you want to run every single discount. Basically, every discount is going to have a win rate well over 57.7%. So it's going to be good to go in a 2 pick entry on DraftKings Pick 6. However, for 6 pick entries, so if I just let's select some random stuff. Here, they tell you, here are your minimums for 6 pick entries. So if I build a 6 pick entry, I'm getting at least a 25x payout if I go 6 for 6. And I'm getting at least a 1.5x payout if I go 5 for 6. So if I go back to my spreadsheet, what does that mean? What that means, I love spreadsheets, is you're getting minus 127 implied juice. So instead of minus 135, again, it's hard to put an exact number, on OddsJam because they give you different payouts depending on the sport and league. But this would say minus 127, minus 127. DraftKings is essentially any pick on the board. They're charging minus 127, minus 127 juice. Again, that's going to be different for MLB plays. So another thing quickly wanted to mention is these boosted picks are all horrible. I went through the math of like 50 of these, like TJ McConnell over 19.5 points. All of these boosted picks are horrible. Don't play them. All you want to play are these regular squares where you can select over or under. All these boosted picks where you can only select more, DraftKings is baking in so much juice. They're absolutely awful. And the same thing goes for the WNBA. Don't play the boosted picks. 1.3x, 0.7x. Don't play any of that stuff. But basically, for a 6 pick entry, you're getting minus 127 juice, and you still need a real edge. You have to win at least 56% of your individual picks. So your over-unders, like Karl Anthony Towns. So if I remove some of these, your individual picks like Towns over or under, if you can win these picks over 56% of the time, means you're losing only 44%, so you have a real edge, you're going to break even. So in this case, if I win 60% of my picks, my ROI playing 6 pick entries on DraftKings Pick 6 is going to be about 45%, compared to 2 pick entries. If I can win my individual over under 60% of the time, then my ROI is only going to be 8%. And for example, if I can win my picks 57% of the time, long term, only losing 43% of my over-unders, I'm going to have a 9% ROI playing 6 mans. Whereas, on 2-pick entries, I'm going to lose money. I'm going to have a negative ROI still. So it does kind of matter what type of slip you go with. But again, it's kind of hard to find 6 profitable picks. So when there's really good discounts on DraftKings Pick 6, a lot of the time I'm just going to run 2-pick entries because it's a lot easier. And basically whatever you pair with a huge favorite, like Towns to go over 9.5 rebounds, 10 plus rebounds. He's a 75% favorite, minus 300 favorite according to the market. You know, basically whatever you pair is going to be profitable. So we need to win. We need to have a win rate on our picks above 56.1% of the time to be profitable playing 6-pick entries. So what you want to do is just go to the OddsJam Fantasy Optimizer, select DraftKings. Again, it's kind of annoying because you can only bet on one sport, right? And in this example, it's like there's a couple plays, but really not a ton of value. So if DraftKings was offering a promo right now, I would run SGA over 11.5 rebounds plus assists with that promo, but I think I've already taken advantage of all the promos for today. So you can see PrizePicks has SGA's RA line at 11.5, right? PrizePicks is at 12, DraftKings is at 11.5. And most of these sports books like FanDuel, Caesars, whatever, the OddsJam Fantasy Optimizer just reads in all the odds from DraftKings Pick 6 and shows you line discrepancy, shows you value. And you can see there's golf, stuff like that. So, long story short, there's currently not 6 good NBA picks to pair together. So I'm not going to run an entry. There's only one NBA game today. However, another thing to mention is on DraftKings, if you can find 6 picks that are even slightly better than minus 127 fair odds, right? Even if these picks have a win rate of even just 57%, you should play them because again, on DraftKings Pick 6, all of these payouts are minimums. You're most likely getting better odds than minus 127 because that's how Pick 6 works. 25x or more, 1.5x or more. I apologize. Now you can see it. So DraftKings is always giving you, these are the minimums. So at worst, you're getting minus 127 odds on any play you lock in a 6-pick entry. Most likely you're getting minus 115, right? A better price. So that's kind of how 6 picks, how DraftKings Pick 6 works. If you have any questions, comment them below. And again, thank you so much for your time, guys.